All right. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's hoping people can hear me. Looks like. Is it working? Looks like it is. I hope so. Let me see. If let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat. Let's see. Here, that was hilarious. Hello, it was for sure. Hello, how's it going? Hello, everybody. Let's see, we got the elevator guy. Hello, elevator guy. Comedic Witch. Hey, Comedic. Amber says, nope. Hey, Amber. Witch forever. I am trash. So, okay, good. So you guys can hear me? All right, good. Is it too loud? Well, anyhow, just let me know. So let me see if anybody wants to join in. Contact me through Twitter or Facebook, and I will get you in here. Let me see. So yeah, so hit me up, let me know. And we'll talk a little bit about the video and talk about whatever else. I'm probably going to go for like maybe an hour or two. So it should be fun. I am cooking chili in the back. So I may occasionally have to leave the table and go and fight it off with a spoon. Make sure it doesn't turn into some kind of a monster, because I might have mixed up a recipe with a process of summoning a demon from the Goetia. You know how that goes. You throw in bat wings, and it was actually supposed to be dove's wings, and you know, it's a whole mess. Then the brass bottle breaks, and you forgot to put the particular key of Solomon symbol that you're supposed to put in the top of the key and the brass vessel, and none of the spirits stay in there, and they all escape and then haunt you for the rest of your life. It's horrible. Let me see. And Shane, hey Shane, how's it going? And Lady Witch, how's it going, Lady Witch? Demon of cleansing. Yeah, I need a demon of cleansing. I need a deep cleansing of my place. I need to find a demon that does windows too, because it's hard to clean the outside of the windows. So let's see. Let me see. Really. Comedic says deep colon cleanse. That sounds like something that Alex Jones would sell as a supplement to his Brain Force colon cleanse. Isn't there some kind? Yeah, there is. There's some kind of a thing that they sell for colon cleansing, isn't there? two demons cleanse colons. I bet you they do. I'm sure they do. Gargoyles windows. Yeah, gargoyles. $400. What? That's expensive. It's funny. It's really funny. It's like I understand the homeopathy. You know, I can completely understand it, but there's some things that just, you know, there's just a. For example, saw palmetto is supposed to help with preventing men from getting urinary tract infection. No, not urinary infections. Colon cancer. Supposed to help with that. But it's such a. I don't. It's just funny. I mean, yeah. There's some things that you can take homeopathy recipes for. So, like, let's say getting sick to build your immune system or stuff like that. But that's why science came along and refined all of these wonderful recipes that our ancestors passed along in folklore. For example, aspirin, which comes from the bark of the willow tree. They refined it and made it into a product that they can sell. So basically, when you go and buy medicine, as long as it's not synthetic, you are buying homeopathy, because that's what those things were based on. Then people started selling snake oil, and they started regulating it and saying, okay, now you have to prove that that snake oil actually does what it does. Smoke weed and drink. Let me see. So, again, if anybody wants to join in, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to be sitting here talking to myself, which I don't know if that's all that exciting. Have you had your prostate probed by a demon before? You know, I haven't had my prostate probed by a demon before, or even probed by a demon before. Probed, yes, yes, thank you. All right. So yeah, so that was a fun little video I did earlier today. The that particular video is not by EA. It's not by that guy himself. It's actually by some other guy that I guess is a friend of his. It's just the whole video was just so. When I first watched it, I just couldn't believe it. I was just laughing so hard. It's like, did they fucking believe that people were going to actually take this seriously? So I'm not exactly ragging on EA Quadding. I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with who he is as a person. He's just out to make money, and he's a little familiar with the occult. I mean, he knows people in the Golden Dawn in Las Vegas, Nevada. The guy who essentially claimed to take over the order of the Golden Dawn after it broke up a long time ago, and part of it went to France, and then the other part of it went to America. But I don't know if he's I don't think he's a member of the Golden Dawn. He might be, or at least a member of that particular sect in Las Vegas, Nevada. But yeah, so he's a little familiar with stuff, but he's out to make money. That's what he's doing. So he's invented his own system and claimed it, and that's what he practices, and that's what he sells. So he's just out to make money. So I can't really blame him for that, because he's surviving. He's figured out a way to survive and make money, and that's what life is all about. It's all about survival. I really feel bad for people who are gullible enough to believe nonsense like that. You know, you have to understand that, yeah, you can blame the snake salesman to a certain point, but after a certain point, you have to look at the gullible idiot who's giving him the cash. And that's the unfortunate thing that I wish I could address on YouTube, but it would just create too much. It would end really badly if we started just like. But I think we should speak out. I think when we see things in our community that are absolute dangerous bullshit, like people who put selenite into water and then drink it, that's not healthy. You're not supposed to put certain rocks and gems and metals into liquid and then drink it. And whoever invented this concept needs to have their head checked, because that's dangerous. You can get incredibly sick or die from that. And then other things that people do that are just nonsense. We need to a certain extent, call it out. Obviously, that's where it gets complex, because people have different concepts of ideas of things, but some things are just really, really dangerous. So let's see. Hey, Animist, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a while. Hope everything's going well with you. Shadow Witch. Hey, Shadow Witch. Elemental guy. Oh, you know what? That's something I haven't talked about, and I need to talk about. That's my my Patreon page. Now I had my Patreon page for quite a while, and I know, especially Animus and some other people were they were supporting me. They were very much supporting me, and I really appreciate it. There was I stopped kind of making videos for a while, and I thought that there was a function on there like that people wouldn't get charged if I didn't make a video, but apparently people were getting charged. So I feel bad about that. So if people got charged in the past 3 months and they want their money back, let me know, and I'll get you a refund, because because I didn't know that Patreon was still charging my Patreons. I'm also probably going to be leaving Patreon. That's why I haven't really been pushing it lately. I'm moving away from that platform because their terms of service is very vague, and apparently they don't follow their own terms of service. So I'm probably going to be switching just to PayPal. So if people want to support me, they can just directly do it through PayPal. But I'll push for that later on. If people want to support me, because I would like to make this, I would like to grow this channel out and do some more creative things that I just can't do with the software that I have at this point. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff I can do. So, but there's other stuff that I wish I could do. You know, you're kind of limited by what you can do, and also some of the some of the effects that I do, because I have Adobe Premiere Elements, so it's like the watered down version of Adobe Premiere, but it has some functions in there that you can tweak and you can make certain special effects with it. It takes more steps to do it than with you if you had Adobe After Effects. It's just, you know, it's like a click of a button. Are you having trouble with your R today? So let's see. Let's see if anybody sent me a message. No, nobody wants to come hang out with me. Oh man, nobody wants to hang out with me. Nobody likes me. All right, fine. I don't like you guys either. Let's see. What are people talking about? Baptists. I missed the premiere. Hi, folks. Oh well, you can still see it. It's still on my channel. Let's see. Baptist, the high priestess, more used to high priest in Golden Dawn. Shadows are demons. ACV. I don't know what ACV is left. No. Comedic. Toxic mineral. Oh yes, exactly. Toxic minerals in water. Very bad for you. I heard drinking bleach makes the frogs gay. I don't know. I think that's an experiment you should take upon yourself, Shane, and get back to us. Let us know. So many Patreon's problems. Exactly. Hey, Kelvin, how's it going? He's still here. Good. Case H, I can't in good conscience use Patreon due to the selective enforcement of rules. ACV's apple cider vinegar. Okay, thanks, Lady Witch. Yeah, I agree. I think that I think it's a very dangerous precedent which is being set where people are what's the term? They're erasing people digitally, which is what was kind of predicted in 1984, was that people would be unpersoned, as they call it. And that's kind of like what is happening with people who have ideals that are against the mainstream, I guess is the best way to describe it. So people are getting kicked off platforms, obviously, like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, but it's also affecting other parts of their life. There have been people who have been taken off of Patreon, kicked off of PayPal, kicked off of Chase Bank, where the banking institutions are actually getting involved. So I think you can imagine how this power, if abused, is incredibly dangerous. They could unperson you. So all you have left is cash, but there's a lot of places don't even accept cash. So they could completely unperson you digitally. It's rather scary. And I understand that there's idiots out there who have completely racist and sexist ideas, but you know what? YouTube, we can ignore them. We can block them. We can delete them. We can even report them if needed, if they're actually doing something that is inciting actual violence, which is the definition of hate speech. But anyhow, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Let's see. Yeah, we can't exactly blame other channels because it's not their fault. What it is the political correctness atmosphere. It's this desire to improve, quote unquote, improve our society. And it's not always an improvement in our societies. We know there's assholes out there. We know this. I mean, come on. We know that there are people out there who have their heads up their ass, who are fucking idiots, who are fucking, they hate people based on whatever arbitrary thing they hate people over. Or either they hate them because they're gay, they hate them because they're black, they hate them because they're a pagan, they hate them because they're this, they hate them because they wear tennis shoes. Whatever reason they have for hating somebody, that's their fucking problem. And if anything, we should put a big ass spotlight on them and laugh them off the fucking internet. We don't have to do anything to them. They're fucking idiots. And there are people who are critical. There are people who are critical of social issues. There are people who are critical of other people. There are people who are critical of beliefs. That's okay. Criticism is not hate speech. Criticism is criticism, period. That's it. But anyhow, I'll put the soapbox away for right now. I reported that Kitty Franz. Yeah, she's insane. And the funniest thing is these people who come to that video defending her. And all I do is I just type the same thing. Where's the police report? Where's the investigation? And they come back and they say, oh, they say, oh, well, you support them, and oh, you're protecting them, and blah blah blah, all this. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Where's the police reports? Where's the investigation? Where all I want to see is I actually want to see a copy of her actually going in and filing a police report. That's all I want. I don't, that's all I want. I don't have to see any court records. I don't have to see anything else. Just the fact that she actually went into a police department because she's supposedly witnessed kidnapping, human trafficking, human people, what's the term? They're being restricted. They're being held against their will, abuse, and then murder. And she doesn't take 5 seconds out to explain what she did or how she took it to the police or what the police said or what the report said or anything. Come on. What kind of a human being are you if you claim this and then you don't follow up? Absolutely, absolutely unconscionable. Unconscionable. That's a word. Sure, why not? Her last video encouraged violence against them. Yeah, and that's the scary thing is you get these idiots who don't know any better, who think that the Freemasons have some kind of a underground satanic sex cult that's murdering people. It's ridiculous. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, those idiots. So yeah, and I mean that's just as bad, in my opinion, as anyone else who claims that so and so's a racist, or they claim that they're just as bad as those people. But you don't have to kick them off the internet. I mean, I guess you could if you want, but all it's going to do is just make them stronger. Because now they can say, oh, it's like Alex Jones. Like, oh, I got kicked off the internet because the globalists are frightened of me. It just makes him more powerful. It makes his message more tantalizing. If you see Alex Jones on YouTube and you watch him for like 5 seconds, you're like, oh, that guy's a fucking idiot, and you click away. Because he's not a threat. He's absolutely not a threat. It's the same thing with this idiot lady, Katie Franz or Kelly Franz or whatever her name is. She's not a threat. She's an idiot, and leave her videos up. She's going to be exposed for everything that she's lying about. But I understand if you feel it crosses a certain line, yeah, it's according to YouTube's terms of service, yeah, you can report them. So I'm not saying anything against you. You can do whatever you want. Let me see. I have a few fragrances coming out called Just Satan. Used to comment. I remember when CBN had a long run of saying Masons are Satanists in the 80s. Yeah, exactly. It's a satanic panic all over again. That's all it is. It's just accusations. But this time around, the police already know it's bullshit. You know, like if you go to the police and you say, "Hey, I witnessed a murder," yeah, they're going to be interested in that. They're going to want to find out. Even if you say you witnessed a murder like when you were 6 years old, maybe somebody else filed a report. You know, maybe it was one of those cold cases where they're looking for that last piece of evidence that can put somebody away for a crime, and you come in and you give them that last piece of information. Now they can go and make an arrest. So yeah, if you believe that you witnessed a crime, a serious crime, like a felony crime, yeah, of course report it. That's just basic common sense. Um, all right, well, let's see. I'm running out of stuff to say here. I don't know what else to say. My chili's coming along pretty good. I may have to take a test of it pretty soon. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe I'll take questions from people in the chat. If anybody has any questions for me, I'll see if I can make something up on the fly. Uh-oh, my computer froze. Oh, there you go. All right, so let's see. Hey Matthew, how's it going? Will you can say pretty much anything you want as long as it goes with the basic rules of YouTube, but it's much stricter if you want to get monetized. Yeah, I agree with that. You said the murder was done by a dude in a robe, they'd be interested. No, you can't, Amber. If I made a video calling you an idiot, my video can get taken down for hate speech. Yeah, that's a good question, Comedic. I don't know how they define that because there's yeah, that's a good question. Because I know that you can, like they do people do get reported for bullying, um, which is essentially what they would call that. But I know that there's people who are critical of other people online. So I don't know. It's kind of a gray area, I think, because it's hard to criticize people sometimes without like saying that their idea or their whatever they're saying is stupid, or you do quote unquote insult somebody to a certain degree. But I mean, insults are the other thing. People get so sensitive to insults. It's like the old saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." People are now saying that words against them are violence. No, words against you are not violence. There is no definition. Actually, well, Shane, you might be correct about that. My understanding, and I don't exactly know where I got it from, but I'm under the assumption that there is a legal definition of hate speech, which you can be charged for if your speech is inflammatory and incites violence against a protected group. That's my understanding. But again, I don't know for sure, and I'm not a lawyer. But that's my understanding of it. But of course, I could be completely wrong. Let me see. The Gem copyright strike too. Yeah, so my videos, because I use music in them, often get not copyright strikes, but basically they're demonetized, and whatever ads run on it, that money goes towards the artist who wrote the song, or actually who owns the rights to that song, I should say. YouTube has even knowingly said they're taking down right-wing channels. Let's all remember Count Dankula. Yeah, the thing with Count Dankula was interesting because that was in Scotland. But what he did was he trained his dog to salute when he played when he said things by Adolf Hitler, and he did that to sort of piss off his girlfriend, and it was basically a joke, and the media twisted it around and made it sound like he was doing this as a hateful act, and he wasn't doing it as a hateful act. He was just doing it as a joke. You know, a long time ago, some of you probably don't remember this, but we used to laugh at people like this. It's what comedy was based on, laughing at idiots. So Mel Brooks did a fantastic job of laughing at Hitler, and so did what's her name, Silverstone, or what's her face, Sharon Silverstone, whatever. Anyhow, but there's been a long history of comedians who make fun of Hitler, and that's what Count Dankula was doing. He was making fun of Hitler. But you know, it's context. Context is context matters. It's very important. If somebody actually hates somebody, then it's different. They might even hate somebody without even being funny. And I mean, usually most of the time, if it's an actual act of hate, then it's not even funny at all. There's absolutely nothing funny about it. Alicia, not Alicia Silverstone. She's a comedian. She's very edgy. She was edgy, I should say, for a while, and she was an attractive woman. She's Jewish. She has dark hair. God, I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. Mel Brooks. What was her name? Damn it. Sarah Silverman. Thank you, Animus. Thank you, Animus. Yes, Sarah Silverman. She was an edgy comedian. It's funny now watching comedy slowly die as more people restrict what they say because they don't want to offend anybody. I don't know what comedy is going to become. Comedy is going to become, I don't know what. What are we going to be able to laugh at? I guess we'll be able to laugh at ourselves. That's about it. But as long as whatever we're laughing about ourselves doesn't carry over to somebody else, so that somebody else doesn't become offended by what we just said. I don't know. It's a dark time. I have probably on this planet, maybe if I'm lucky, another 40 years, 50 years. The rest of you are going to have to deal with all this shit after I'm gone. I really hate to see what your world is going to be like in 100 years. I honestly do. I'm honestly, it terrifies me. If none of this is put into check, what this world is going to be like in 100 years is absolutely terrifying. It's not because they don't want to be offensive. They don't want to destroy their careers. Absolutely, Case H. I absolutely agree with you. But that it goes hand in hand. So, like, if we had a taboo subject that we can't talk about, we're all going to be dancing around not being able to talk about that particular topic, and other people are going to pick up on that. You know, the social pressure of it, really. Compared to the 1950s, this is nothing yet. Compared to the 1950s, what do you mean? What in the 1950s are you talking about, Animist? I'm just curious. Never got into Sarah's comedy. I am more twisted than who I get my best friend. Okay. So yeah, let me see if you guys have any questions for me. Let me know. And still nobody wants to join. Nobody likes to join my Hangouts anymore. What's going on? Am I that mean to people? Let's see. Communist. I was talking about censorship. Oh, censorship? Yeah, but actually, in the 1950s, censorship was not as bad. Then they they started censoring, images. Obviously, you can't see naked images, and then got to the point where there's certain words you can't say. It's actually been getting worse because now there's certain concepts we can't touch on. There's many words you can't say. Some words, if you're accused of saying, you will actually be removed from the platform. So, yeah, I agree with you, Animist. It's getting a lot worse. I'm recent Norse pagan, and I was wondering, what path do you follow, Hellbound Heathen? Oh well, I'm a Gardnerian witch, and I study the occult, so I call myself an occultist too. Um, I know my name's Hellbound Heathen, but I really did that just because it was a lot easier for people to say. But yeah, no, I don't practice heathenry. I don't think there's anything wrong with heathenry, but it's not a path that appeals to me. So yeah, so I've I studied the British traditional Wiccan path, which is Gardnerian and Alexandrian, for a long time, and then got initiated into a Gardnerian coven. And I've been studying the occult for quite some time. So yeah, so that's what I describe my path as. Let me see. But the funny thing is I mean, if you're a Gardnerian or an Alexandrian, or pretty much those two, you can't really practice on your own. So I had to change the ritual to be able to practice solitary as a Gardnerian witch, which a lot of people do. It's not unusual, but I'm not currently in a coven, so I'm a solitary Gardnerian witch, which is unusual. I'll join soon. Oh, okay, cool. Good. I'll have somebody in here. Is this an open chat? Yes, it is an open chat. If you want to join in, I have to have you have to be following me on Twitter or on Facebook so I can send you an invite. What are your plans for future videos? I don't know. Good question. I'll join him, but he's not seeing it or sending a link to me. Oh, really? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Animist. Why am I not seeing your message? That's weird. Hey, Animist, let me send you the link. Let me close this. Let me get the link, and I will send it to you on Twitter, Animist. Copy, close, messages. All right, Animist. I just posted it now. So if you want to join in, let me see who else is in here. If he's any other reconstructionists here, is there any? Oh, I'm sure there probably are some reconstructionists here. Animus, yes, I just sent him a link. I could say one word and my comment could remove your ability to stream live. Okay. Light Wolf Productions, check out Dr. Jackson Crawford. He's an Old Norse specialist. Hey, Jeremy, how's it going? You got to have a big mouth, Animist. Comedic, okay, I'll send you a link too. All right, Zabora, I just sent you the link. Let me see, who else? Let me see. Usually Twitter link. Yeah. So Anos, I sent you via Twitter. Light Wolf Productions. I see. So have you studied the Gaelic language? I'm in Northern Ireland, and I have little knowledge of any of our mythology because of the Christianization of Ireland. Wow. Okay. I was in Ireland back in 2016. Yeah, 2016, and I was actually, of course, I didn't go to Northern Ireland. But they all on all the buses and all the trains, they had it in English, and then they had it in Gaelic too. So there's definitely a revival of the Gaelic language in Ireland, which is good. It's modern Irish. It's not ancient Irish, obviously. I think in Northern Ireland, probably a little more touchy there. You're probably more familiar with the atmosphere nowadays. I think it's gotten a lot better in Northern Ireland. But yeah, no, I tried to study Irish Gaelic for a little while, but it just you really have to have native speakers. So yeah, I tried to I tried to write rituals in Gaelic a long time ago, and it just got to be too much trouble, so I gave up. Hey,
Hey, what's up?
not much. How you doing?
Well, I was getting really angry thinking about just the whole YouTube thing and demonetization and removing channels because I've had my own channel removed. You remember that?
Right,
So
right. I do remember that. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, it's just to me, it was just I wanted to kind of come on and talk a little bit about that, and I think it's kind of disgusting because the internet is pretty much how we all communicate. Social media is where we get our news. It's where we talk to our friends. We do everything on social media through the internet. So we are allowing a private company to police our constitution, take away our freedom of speech, our right to express ourselves. These are things that our country was founded on. And we are
Hmm.
allowing a company to take that away from us.
Yeah, exactly. And that is where a lot of people argue, because what it is you'll have, I agree with you, Zavora, but you'll have people on the other side of the fence saying, well, no, because YouTube is a private company and they can do whatever they want. Companies can refuse service to whoever they want. So
That's
that's right. And I understand your point of view, but that's where the argument comes in, you know?
no, I agree. I agree. But I think that private companies should have to at least follow the law.
Hmm.
And one of those things is freedom of expression, especially on a platform like YouTube designed for expression.
Hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe that's just my own fuck you.
Well, it is. For example, it is. It's like so the internet, the way that Twitter, YouTube, Facebook works, almost everybody's on it, especially in America. It's like everybody's on it. Somebody has an account, a Facebook account, Twitter account, and it's our way of communicating with each other. It's kind of like the telephone. You know, this is a really crappy analogy, but it's like the telephone. Um, so could you imagine if like Pacific Bell came in and decided a long time ago and decided, oh, you can't have a phone because we don't like what you're saying to, the person that you're talking to on the other side of that
Exactly.
phone. That's
Exactly.
that's what it is. So yeah, I agree with you, and I think that laws are going to have to be passed that are going to have to protect individuals who are using these platforms so that they cannot be removed. And I think what's happening is, especially with YouTube, and I think that other companies, like actual companies, are being targeted by people who are trying to censor people. They're trying to censor people, and so what they're doing is they're accusing people of being, Nazis or racists or whatever, so that the companies get scared and the companies pull out the money.
Right.
And
And
yeah.
that's the problem in itself because YouTube is ultimately out to make money. Once it figured out, oh my god, we can make so much money if we just put ads on everything. And and companies, they're not going to want to tarnish their own image, so they're not going to want to be associated with someone who's screaming the N-word on all of their videos. I can understand that.
Hmm.
But at a certain point, we're forced to use these platforms to communicate. That's
Hmm.
just how our society has evolved. So, yeah, I agree that there's definitely going to have to be some kind of laws enacted simply to protect our freedom of expression.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Animist, how you doing? He
Hey
might be
there.
working on.
I'm getting my Windows set up still. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. old headphones. Glad they're still working. I'll be back in just a minute.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you, Zabora. You know, it's I mean, it's just yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I mean, YouTube is going to have to at some point stop trying to become the police of the internet. It's just not going to happen. You know, like if somebody comes into my chat room and they start typing the N-word, I'm probably going to block them because
Right.
first of all, I don't want to see that, you know, and it is an offensive term, and I don't want other people, you know. So I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna block them, and I'm gonna tell them, you know, you can't say that in my chat or whatever. You know, I don't need YouTube to come around and police the chat room for me, you know, because sometimes what will happen is people will be using that term in a way that's not meant to be derogatory.
Sure, if we
And
were like discussing it now, like you said, context matters. If I
right,
were to
exactly.
say, you know, the N-word is a derogatory term, then context in this case would be I'm not racist, I'm saying don't use it.
Right,
Even
exactly.
if I myself use it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, so yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Zabora. But and I know that that's kind of like where the heart of the argument is like people are saying yes, you should be able to have freedom of speech, especially in America, because we have the Constitution protecting it. But YouTube is a private platform, but it's also a way of communication. You know, it's essentially like the phone. If you didn't have a phone back then, you couldn't talk to so and so. Same
Right.
thing, if you don't have a Twitter account or a YouTube account or Facebook account, you can't talk to people. So it's the same thing. It's just, you know, so I don't know. It would be interesting to see what happens with it.
Yeah, no, it definitely would be. I mean, like it's a public service.
Hmm.
So you got to serve the public.
Yeah.
And the public demands freedom of speech. I mean, that's the whole country is founded on that. I mean, I just don't understand the far left because it's so far left, it's right wing.
Right. Yeah, and like when you said it, everybody, yeah, that's where I was gonna chime in, and no, that's not true. Not everybody does want freedom of speech. You know,
Yeah.
some people I've heard, they've been very clear about that. They don't believe in freedom of speech. They believe that there's only certain things that you can say. If it's offensive to anyone for any reason, you can't say it. So freedom of speech is offensive. And and I think that's where people, again, that's another argument people have. It's like they'll say that like trans women aren't actual women, for example. That term right there, somebody would find incredibly offensive, and they would actually say that that is hate speech if you said something like that.
No,
So
I could say I don't call that. I wouldn't qualify that as hate speech.
yeah, of
Um,
course you wouldn't, but I'm saying other people would.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, for me though, hate speech would be like if I'm inciting violence against them because of a specific trait.
Hmm.
So that would be hate speech for me, like kill all the Jews, or kill the transgenders, or they're burning in hell, or you know whatever else. That would be hate speech to me if I'm calling for violence against them. But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and
Um,
I agree with you. I think that is inciting violence if you're actually trying to, you know, lie about a protected group, or not even lie about them, but try to mislabel them or mischaracterize them and make people hate them. Yeah, I agree with you. That is hate speech.
I don't know. It's very complicated. It really is because yeah, I wouldn't want anybody calling my trans friend a man. In
Hmm.
fact, I would probably hurt them.
Hmm.
I'd be like, yeah, well, you're just an idiot, you know, tear them down verbally. I try not to punch anymore. But you're basically sending people to jail because your feelings got hurt.
Hmm.
And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Your feelings got hurt.
Hmm. Yeah.
Does that warrant being someone spending time in jail with rapists, murderers, real criminals?
Mhm.
I don't think so. So for me, that's just my own stance.
Mhm. Yeah.
But how dare I have empathy for the rest of society?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's to be clear. What I said was if you called a trans woman not a woman,
Hmm.
so like usually I treat people or address them the way that they show, or if I don't know, I'll ask them like, how do you like to be
Yeah.
addressed, or what? For example, where I work, there's somebody who's in their email they have their name and then they have their pronouns that they prefer to use, you know. And so we know in the office, okay, they like to be called, they or them or he or him. So we know exactly what they like to be called. That's understandable, Um, but there's some people who don't. Oh, I'd lost my train of thought. But there's so for those people who identify that way, if somebody like misgenders them, yeah, I think that could be annoying. It's kind of like, don't call me a Mrs. I'm a Mister, and you can correct them. And I
Yeah.
think that they people are concerned that other people are going to purposely misgender them because they find it funny, or they find it like they won't recognize it. Like they'll understand that somebody wants to be called female, but they'll call them male just to piss them off. I think that's messed up. But if somebody says it on accident, or I mean, I've even done it. I've mislabeled them, misgendered them on accident, and then I have to stop myself and apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, no, it does, because it's happened at my old job. We had a security guard run into the women's bathroom because a lady said that there was a man in there. Turned out it was actually a lady, not even a trans person, just a very mannish woman.
Mhm.
And like I had to go. I was like, dude, you can't be in here screaming at this lady. It doesn't matter. You're in a bathroom and you identify as a man. You got to get out.
Mhm.
We can discuss this out of the bathroom, but you can't be in here screaming at us. So it's. I understand that misgendering happens, but maybe it's just me. I feel like when people misidentify people on purpose,
Mhm.
they're doing it to get a rise. And if you don't give them that rise, they'll leave you alone or they move on. It's just like, yeah, well, you're an idiot, so I don't care what you think.
Mhm.
I know. Are you claiming to know me better than I know myself? Tell me more about your telepathy. I don't know. Maybe it's just my opinion. I think people need to stop being so sensitive about certain things. As a trans person, there is so much hatred involved in being a trans person, and so much physical attacks. Like my friend personally was beaten severely by her own family members for being trans.
Mhm.
So because she's, Hispanic, it's a little bit more of a Catholic, tighter culture.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. Trans people are some of the toughest people emotionally that I know.
Mhm.
So I think the rest of the world needs to kind of toughen up too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of people out there who, I don't know. I think I didn't really mean to focus in on this one particular group. It's just sort of happened that way.
Yeah, it's a good example though.
Yeah, it's a good example of speech and acceptance. But I think that
Yeah.
the YouTube thing is, and that's not even just YouTube. Really, I'm actually seeing like um, wider wider implications of this. Like
Oh,
people being
Twitter's
deplat.
doing it. Yeah.
Huh? What?
Twitter's doing it. Facebook's doing it.
Right.
Like all of them. All of them
Yeah.
are.
And then some people have even been removed from like PayPal. And like I said earlier, some people have had like Chase Bank will like say, we don't want to do business with you anymore. We want to
Yeah,
close your account. It's ridiculous.
I remember being, oh crap, like a young teenager. And in Oregon, because that's where I'm from, there was this Grand Dragon KKK member who wanted to move to, I think, Prineville, which was really close to where I was from. And the town denied him. They wouldn't let him purchase land. They wouldn't let him uh, shop in their stores. Like everybody knew who he was, and they like, you have to leave. So it definitely is a widespread thing, and it's certainly something that needs to be addressed in our laws. Unfortunately, technology is a lot quicker up on our positions than our laws are. I think, what was it in Colorado? Like they just abolished slavery or something, or lynchings.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was like this last November election. There was something about they were officially abolishing slavery because it was still on their constitutional laws for the state.
But
Damn blue book laws,
yeah, but so they passed the law, but people weren't getting. I mean, I think that society changed and the laws are just reflective of that. I don't think anybody is for lynching.
Well,
I
no,
haven't heard
obviously.
anybody argue for it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
Yeah,
like it's nice that we have that law on the book, but I think that socially we changed before that,
yeah.
before that, and then the law sort of it comes on as like a second part.
But that's my point. It's like the laws just haven't caught up with where we are as a society today with
Hmm.
our technology.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of needs to be addressed because we've come so far in the last 20 years, the last 40 years. I mean, once the Industrial Revolution happened, boom, that was it. We exploded in population,
Hmm.
in everything. So our laws just haven't caught up with that. We're still looking at laws that state that I can run cattle, at least two of them, down Main Street. Doesn't matter if there's traffic. So long as I got at least two of them, I can walk up and down Main Street as a cattle drive. Those
Hmm.
laws are still on our books, even though nobody runs cattle down Main Street.
It takes time, effort, and money to put bills through to remove old laws. So a lot of times it just doesn't happen.
Hello.
Hello. Is that Amber?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting weird feedback.
Yeah. Try muting yourself, Amber,
Hold
for a
on.
second. Yeah, I think it's coming from her.
Yeah, when you're in the Google call, you do have to mute the YouTube window.
Hmm.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
they feed on each other.
Yeah, and you also have to put headphones on, I've noticed, because if you have your speakers in the background, it'll get feedback. So hopefully she'll fix that.
What about now?
Whoa.
Still hear an echo.
Oh God. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is gonna work actually, because I don't have headphones with me currently. I'll catch
What
you.
did you use last time?
I was in my living room. I didn't have any headphones.
Yeah, it just sounds like you're talking from the bottom of a 55-gallon drum. It's not that bad.
It sounds like you're in your bathroom, actually.
I'm at my work's bathroom. I just like locked myself in and it was just like, yeah, this is mine now.
That's
I
what it
know,
is.
I know the sound of the bathroom echo. I spend a lot of my time pooping.
It takes a lot of time to do it right, I'm saying.
Gotta
Good
get the
old
right
comedic.
stall.
Exactly. Especially
Little
if you're
TMI.
Can't take a joke, my Logan.
Well, at least you're regular, so I'm very
Yeah,
happy about that. I hope everything comes out all right.
currently not doing that for everybody's information, just in case anybody was wondering. But yeah, no.
Oh, okay, good. So we don't have to wash our hands after this hangout.
Don't
Oh,
lie.
God.
We know you're shit posting. Okay, don't lie.
Exactly. That's like 99% of my time anyway.
So let's see, Square. You
Okay, so could I throw a couple of things on some former points? that
Sure,
came
go
up?
for it.
Yeah.
Okay, first for Light Wolf Productions, who said they were new to Norse paganism.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in the chat. But look for a channel on YouTube by Jackson Crawford. He's a doctor of Old Norse studies. He's at the University of Colorado, of all places, but he's got a YouTube channel, and he's a good place to get some grounding in the actual translation and interpretation of ancient Norse literature.
Hmm.
And he's a pretty good interpreter. He's published books of like translations of the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. He's a good channel. A lot of Norse pagans go to him for the academic knowledge about Norse culture, ancient Norse culture.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. That's just a good recommendation.
And Animus, what do you think of Stephen Flowers?
I don't know him.
You don't know him? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm really not real tight with the Norse the new Norse pagan Asatru thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the Old Norse pagan thing.
Okay.
Of, I'm from family traditions rather
Mm-hmm.
than from Reconstructionism. So if he's part of that, I don't know.
No, he's just a writer who's wrote about Icelandic folklore magic. So I was just wondering if you knew anything about him. But
No,
yeah, well, that sounds like a good writer. I haven't heard of that other. What was his name again?
The name's Jackson Crawford.
Jackson Crawford. Okay.
Yeah, he's a PhD in Old Norse studies, and he's taught at Berkeley. I think he got his doctorate in Wisconsin, and then he taught at Berkeley, and now he's teaching at the University of Colorado. And he's an academic guy, so he can give the breakdown of the languages, the pronunciations, the history, where it tied into the culture historically.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a good base for anyone who's trying to do, ancient paths. Having a good academic source is good, and he's interesting.
Yeah, I know. UC Berkeley had a Celtic studies program. I don't know if they had a Norse studies program, but I know they had a Celtic studies program.
He's at the University of Colorado now.
He's at the okay.
Yeah, and Jackson Crawford does a good job of paying attention to Christian influences on writers like Snorri, and how they may or may not have included certain things in their works depending on their personal influences. So he points out where there's he'll point out and say, well, they don't talk about this aspect of it, but then that's not the aspect of it they'd probably be talking about. Like Snorri, who wrote the Eddas, who translated some of the Eddas, he was doing that as sort of a cultural pride thing. Mm-hmm. Apparently there was a big thing in Iceland with, keeping their cultural history. And so he wasn't describing theology, but he was translating some of the old stories from earlier Norse writings or Norse stories as they knew them in Iceland in the 13th century. So he's aware of that, and he points things out that are pretty good about that. But yeah. So anyway, that was just a recommendation for Light Wolf of somebody to go to he's a pure academic. He's not pushing any religious or political philosophy at all. Mm-hmm. He's very carefully neutral on all theological matters Norse. Mm-hmm. He specifically says in any number of his videos, I don't have a pony in this fight. I've heard some people argue this or some people argue that. This is what the text says. Mm. This is what it means historically. And so you have to build your thing off of that. So anyways.
I like that approach. I like that approach. That's kind of how I approach the Bible. Because, I've actually recently got like a bunch of new Christian commenters and stuff like that. And I think it's because I mistakenly left myself logged into Kemetic Witchcraft when I was commenting on a few things. I like to keep, my activity on YouTube separate because I don't just have interests in witchcraft, and it can kind of put people off to your ideas if you present yourself as a witch. So I do have another account that I use that is just Zabora. But I don't know. I've had a few of them kind of be like, oh, well, this is what the Bible says. I'm like, no, that's your interpretation. This is what it actually says.
Yeah.
So I really like that approach of just, hey, this is what the text actually says. This is the fact.
Yeah, it's funny how some Christian evangelicals will take a scripture, or they will take something from the Bible, and they will use it like to their advantage, to make a point about something. But if you turn around and you pull a quote from something and you say, well, yeah, but doesn't this contradict it, or doesn't this mean the opposite, or doesn't this mean that? And they're like, no, that's not how you're supposed to interpret it. It's like, but
Oh,
that's
yeah,
how you
it's not,
interpret it.
Yeah,
not
like,
of
but
the
that's
Bible.
what it said.
It's not of the Bible. It's not supposed to be valid, If it's not in the Bible, it's not valid. You can't use other, examples. Are you nuts? Like, no.
Yeah, because birds are fish, or whales are fish, and bats are locusts, because that's what the Bible says.
Interesting. Yeah.
And, you could buy and sell your wives. That too.
Mm-hmm.
And your wife can become your brother's property.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because a lot of the stuff in the Bible, if you look at it as just sort of like metaphor or analogy, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. But if you take it literally, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's
No one
ridiculous.
can claim the Bible was written by
Shit.
God.
Sorry about that.
Don't break your chili, dude.
I know, really.
No one can actually read the Bible and say it's the word of God and it's all true. Because, like I said, whales are not fish, bats are not locusts, bats are not birds.
And even sorry, go ahead.
I think it's you, Amber. Go ahead.
Okay. Even if you take the parts that are supposed to be taken metaphorically, and you take the parts literally that are supposed to be literal, it still doesn't make any sense. And it still is a horrible, horrible layout for how to behave as a human, especially in regarded and modernized. So like it really, and how they, some evangelical Christians will talk to you and they're like, quote from the Bible. I'm like, well, the Bible has no validity to me. So like this conversation is not going to go anywhere. If you actually have real world examples that make sense, then yes, we can talk. But like, it's just
it's like when they make an assertion about God being the Most High and how can I deny him because he has exhibited himself as the Most High. It's like, where'd you get your info? The Bible?
I know. Aren't there like several gods that want to be the Most High? I'm pretty sure there's like a couple thousand,
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, what makes your God right? Because 2,000 years ago, the Romans pushed it? 4,000 years ago, the Romans were pushing fucking Juno,
Exactly, and I'm sure it would make Juno feel very happy to be, referred to as the Most High God.
Well, he was in their pantheon, just like in Kemeticism, you have multiple creators that are the Most High, but the most accepted would be like Ra or Atum or Amun.
Yeah, and I was just reading about the goddess Isis. Like, oh my God, she is like a badass, by the way. It's just like somehow taking Ra's most powerful, his like true name while he's stuff. Oh my God, it's so cool.
She's a badass. Isis is a badass. Well, one of the things that's really cool about the Kemetics is the Egyptians had this really awesome system. Their deities were just so cool that they integrated and were adopted by other societies. So Isis reached fucking France as its own cult. So it's really just amazing that, I mean, the Egyptian gods are just so cool. And
you mean pre-Frank France, like Gaul?
Yeah. I'm talking like pre Welsh invasion.
I don't think the Welsh ever made it to France, but the Franks definitely made it to France. But yeah, I think you're talking about a time when it was considered Cisalpine Gaul and Gaul, right?
Yeah, I'm talking like pre Christianity, pre-Crusades, all of that, pre-English.
Right.
I actually found this like really cool channel that goes through a whole bunch of like obscure, cool ass mythology. They actually do their research called like overly sarcastic productions, and that's actually where I've learned a lot of like mythology. So if, like you guys need to go do your research and stuff, it's really good.
What's it called again? Overly what?
Overly sarcastic productions. I'm sorry, I'm in a bathroom, you know.
I might have to check it out. I like Overly Simplified. They do some good history ones.
Yeah, they might actually be related, but like it has it's all in cartoons and simplified nature, so even I can understand it, you know?
Yeah, that's how Oversimplified does their history stuff. My favorite was their Hitler one, where 'cause, you know, it was just funny. Hitler being
Maybe it's the same person.
It might be. It sounds similar, so I might have to look at that.
But yeah, I thought it was really, really cool, and they do a really good job, you know, on it. So I've been trying to learn a lot more about mythology, but I'm having a hard time finding like the appropriate people talking about it. Especially, I mean, it's the same struggle I had with trying to find a demonology course, you know, or
Well,
something like.
what books have you looked into?
I have a few, and I'm looking at a few on like Amazon and stuff to get, but there's one that I know this guy he wrote a book on it, and I forget the name was, but like it was way more than I wanted to pay for it at the moment, but yeah.
Because I know when I studied mythology early on, I went to the library, and because I wasn't buying books at that time. It didn't even enter my mind. But yeah. I mean, I think you can check out books at the libraries and like go to like message boards or maybe even like comment sections on YouTube and see what people are recommending. Like if you wanted to get into certain mythologies, you could ask people about it. Because there's some good. I mean, there's some good mythology books out there, but there's also different versions of it too. You know, people have different versions of different stories. So often you can read the same story from two different authors, and it can seem like two different stories, even though there'll be often many similarities.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing that Loken did. That there's more than one way to skin a cat in a lot of the stories. So you'll find like Hercules and his labors. Everybody knows Hercules and his 10 labors, but some of them are switched in some stories. Some of them were completed in different ways in some stories. So it really depends on who you ask, because originally everything was just told through word of mouth. And then when man developed writing and started writing things down, everybody started embellishing the stories a little bit more every time they were told and every time they were written, and then the whole dynamic changes. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. You never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We're not talking about, Thor Ragnarok that just came out, where it was just like, Loki wasn't, he was father. Just like, I remember this being different, but okay.
Man, yeah. Well, and exactly, that was Marvel. It was Marvel's version interpreted by, Disney.
Yeah, you have to view those as separate works of art, like the film versions of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit versus the book versions of them, and and I have to view them as separate works of art, otherwise I have an aneurysm. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like Game of Thrones. After what was it, season 4 or something like that, it just turned into fan fiction.
I was pretty sure the author. The thing was, I haven't read the books or anything, so correct me if I'm wrong. I was pretty sure the author was having trouble getting more books out. Or am I wrong? Is that why it's so?
Yeah, he hasn't finished the series yet. We're still waiting on at least 2 more, and that's without any of the like history of Westeros. I'm like super fan. I've read all the books, and I mean all the books. The only one I don't own is the map book, and I just felt that was a little ridiculous. So yeah, we're waiting for Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring, but that's the problem. Like they had to start kind of piecing their own things together just based on Martin's notes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fan fiction because it's a little bit of canon and a little bit of their own interpretation on
Yeah.
what happened. You know, because like in the books, Stannis Baratheon is still alive. In the TV show, he's dead.
Oh, okay. Well, like, yeah, that I'm sure they're just trying to like desperately try and get content out while Martin is like, banging his head on his desk. So that's
So now is Game of Thrones, is that something that's put on by HBO?
Yeah. Sex position.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen like little clips on YouTube, but I've never actually like sat down and watched one of the shows. But it looks interesting.
Oh yeah.
George R. R. Martin ruined me for a lot of authors. Like his writing style is just so real. When I go to read other works that are kind of, I don't know, like the one that I'm reading now by Deborah Harkinson, A Discovery of Witches. Quiet. It's very Twilighty almost, and I blame Martin for that. I'm like, you have ruined my view of books, sir.
Wait, that's an older book, isn't it?
Twilight?
No, the book that Comedic just mentioned.
Oh.
Twilight, yeah, but
No, not Twilight. The other one,
A Discovery of Witches.
Yeah. That sounds familiar to me. Is that an older book?
Let me check. I got it right here.
I wouldn't know. I just started reading the Silmarillion, and my fantasy book like knowledge kind of goes past Narnia.
Or maybe I'm thinking of King James's book on demonology and witchcraft. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
2000.
Oh, okay, yeah. So no, that's a different one. No, I think I was confusing it with the discovery of witchcraft and demonology by King James.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, this is a fiction. Well, they both are, but this is like a marketed as fiction. I really want to go to Barnes and Noble and like take all their Bibles and just put them in the fiction section.
That's like the atheist initiation ceremony where you go and do that,
Why not? I already burned one of them.
See, I don't care if Christians have a different concept. Like if I mean, obviously they have a concept. They have a God that they believe in, and they have a Bible they believe in. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to move it to the fiction section or anything. I don't care what people believe. The only and the absolute only thing that bothers me is when they try and say that my practice is demonic or evil or whatever. That's the only time I really care.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't care what Christians believe. Like if they believe
but I'm
in
a troll.
Huh?
But I'm a troll. I do it to get a rise out of them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm not into trolling them. I just want to like just get them to to shut the fuck up and leave us alone. I don't really care. I don't really care what they believe, because when it comes down to it, I have crazy ass beliefs too that other people think are completely silly. So
well, like if they demand respect for their religion, yeah, okay, that's fine. But I'm not going to respect your religion if it doesn't respect yourself or other people. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. And if you've ever walked past the Christian romance section, it is a violation to your eyes. Like it makes you want to vomit. And it's just like, oh, love through prayer. Please kill me now. Just no.
See,
yeah, and I wouldn't even say that. I don't think anybody has to respect Christianity, but I think what it is what I'm saying is that it's a personal belief, and I don't think there's anything wrong with a personal belief, but it's when you start pushing your personal belief on other people is when it becomes offensive. You know what I
Oh.
mean? Other than that, I don't care. I don't. If you believe that, you know, a great hamster runs everything, that's fine. That's a personal belief. But if you try to get other people to change their life based upon the great hamster, then I have a problem with it. You know?
Well, I mean,
Uh,
they
this
try to
is,
stop teaching evolution in school.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Well,
They
again,
try to like,
that's.
You
Go
mean
ahead.
the proven scientific, like, you know, the
yeah, they kind
proven
of
way that things
sometimes,
are
well, they
like
have a history
working
of like trying to
currently?
stop science.
Okay. So what we're going to have to do from now on is people are going to have to talk one at a time. So I think what I'll do is I'll call on people. So
Oh.
I know I am trash. You just got into the conversation. So how's it going?
Yep,
I'll let you talk.
going good. Yeah, I had to throw away a bunch of paper. Had like stuff from like the 7th grade. I don't know why I had it.
So yeah.
Speaking of evolution,
Go ahead, Zabora.
I agree. Evolution's not being taught in schools anymore. I remember being in middle school when the movie Evolution came out, and I was like, "Oh my god, I understand why we're studying these animals in this order in school." Amber, could you mute yourself?
Oh my God, sorry.
I was just hearing like myself talk to myself, and I get weirded out when I do that.
Yeah,
I
nobody
can't
wants to
help
listen to you.
it. Yeah, nobody, not even me. But they never used the word evolution. They never said that there was a link between these species. They're like, okay, these are flatworms, these are roundworms, these are crickets, you know, and then they went up like that. I agree. Like the problem is like there is a bit of a religious agenda when it comes to our public school system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you want to respond to that, Amber?
Yeah, I mean, just if you were to ask people, anybody in the Christian like community is gonna like tell you that like God has been taken out of school, so they would like disagree with you, but like that doesn't mean that they're correct because they I believe it was in Virginia, this girl she almost got expelled or she got suspended for trying to start an atheist club because like everyone else was Christian in the school and they had a big uproar about this. And I'm just like, all right, so you're gonna ostracize this one kid who just wanted to hang out with fellow atheists. I mean, I understand not putting religion in the school, but they also had like Bible classes and stuff for this particular school. So, I mean, doesn't make any sense.
That has to be in the Bible Belt.
What was that? I am.
That must have happened in the Bible Belt. That had to have happened.
Yeah. See, I don't like the. I'll hear people say, "Oh, we just want it taught alongside with. We want creationism taught alongside with evolution." It's kind of like, no, you know, I'm very much for a secular society. I think we need to have common things that we agree upon. One is we need to have a common language. Second is we need to have a common, you know, society as a whole. We need to have some kind of a common thing. And I think science, teaching your kids what is the facts, what we know is what we should do. If when they go home, then the parents can teach them, you know, whatever personal belief they want to. But in the meantime, like I don't want paganism in schools, you know. I don't want that. I want people to just go to school, learn whatever it is that they need to learn that's based on research and facts and people have come before them. And then when they come home, I can teach them about, you know, the Toynbee Cooley and how we celebrate the 4 Sabbaths. But that's it, you know, and that's how we should. That's how we should do it. And the same thing with the public schools. It's like we're not throwing God out of the classroom. It's just it doesn't need to be there. Same with every religion. No religion needs to be in there. And then they say, oh well, creation is, or excuse me, evolution or Scientology, or whatever they call it scientism or something. It's like they try to claim it's a religion. It's like, no, it's not. What do you think about that, Animist?
I'm not even sure what you're talking about anymore.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
Talking about people who want creationism to be taught in public schools.
It's not science, so it doesn't belong in a science class. It belongs in a comparative religion class. That's the class it belongs in.
Yeah.
When you try to put it in a class it doesn't belong in, then it doesn't fit with the curriculum. Science class is science class.
Yeah.
And creationism or the intelligent design is a religion. So it belongs in a religion class, and it should be called that. That's the problem, is they want to say that it's an alternative form of science, and it just isn't. And this has been gone through the courts all the way to the top, and it was found not to be science.
Yeah.
So that's a settled matter. It's just a matter of forcing local governments to conform to the law.
Yeah,
Let's see. Let's see.
You know, there's proof of evolution in our DNA, and there's transitional species that were found in Darwin's day. So to say that evolution is not fact is crazy to me.
Yeah, what they do is they try to argue for every single little thing, and they try to pick it apart. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that I think it is like Animus had said. It's pretty much it. They really took it to the court. It's really died out. It is kind of a mute topic, but people still like to revisit it and try to bring it up again and say that, you know, it's unfair treatment or God's being taken out of schools or public schools or whatever. And it's like, no, it's not. That's bullshit.
Well, it's just if you're going to teach one religious creationist story, you're going to have to teach all religious creationist stories. And there are thousands of those, and we just ain't got time for that shit. Not in science class. Like Anima said, there should be religious class. Like I had a religious class in high school, and it was an elective. But we studied the 3 Abrahamic faiths as well as a few pagan faiths. Very briefly, the pagan faiths, more on the Abrahamic ones, which was a bit of a disappointment. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Let me see.
There's not even enough time to teach all the science in science class. There's really no room to include anything that isn't science. There's already too much science to try to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of information to I mean, even history like spans like several grades. Same thing with biology and then chemistry. So yeah, there's a lot to study.
No time for Jesus.
Yep.
I mean, anybody who says like alternative science and stuff is just stupid, honestly, and they don't know how to use their brains, because it's just like, I mean, come on, you have to be logical about this too. I mean, if it's going to be, and I totally agree with Loken, like that we should have like a common, you know, area, and then we have rabbit trails for like religion and personal beliefs and stuff. So it, like that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in the school when you're being taught, you should be taught what is known, what is science, what is the curriculum. You should be taught those things, and then what your parents want to teach you at home is what your parents want to teach you. You know, they can teach you whatever. Hopefully, they're helping you with your actual homework too. You know.
What if they're teaching you about vaccinations and how dangerous they are?
Well, that happens today too. Oh, you know what? That was a scary thing. I went shopping to go and get supplies for my chili that I was making, and I walked by a newsstand and I saw somebody had put a sign in there about how vaccines cause autism, and I was just like, oh my god.
Oh my
Oh
god,
my
that
god.
is good.
You know, that's something that really scary because I never caught chicken pox or measles when I was a kid. So as an adult, that's extremely dangerous, and then of
Mm,
course I've got a weak immune system to begin with. So it's that's the anti-vax thing. I've got a friend that's an anti-vaxxer, and I respect her beliefs and all that, but I'm not hanging out with her kids. You know,
hmm.
they're sick all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really respect anti-vaxxers. I'll just tell it truthfully. I mean, I can understand their hesitance because there is a possibility that something might happen. But if you go in for a life saving, or if you go in for an operation, even if you go in to get like your tooth pulled, but you go under, there's a possibility you might not come out.
Yeah.
There are people who have gone under, and like the gas. Yeah, and they've died. There is a possibility of that happening. However, does that mean that we're going to stop using uh, the knockout gas, or people are going to be going into, to have a tooth extraction, or a medical procedure that might save their life? Yeah. So yes, I'm sure that a very small percentage of the population has a bad reaction to a vaccine, but it doesn't mean we should outlaw vaccines outright. That's ridiculous, because the the benefits of people being vaccinated very much outweigh the the possible damage it could cause. Far outweighs it. So yeah, so I don't have any respect for people like that.
Well, I understand some parents are being scared because, big pharmas, they're pushing a lot of medicine. They're out to make money too. Now I can't have kids, so I can't speak as a mother, but I can speak as a pet owner. My dogs are required to have so many shots every year. It's almost ridiculous. I think they're up to like 4 shots a year in order to maintain the healthy standard that society wants me to maintain.
Hmm.
So some of the stuff I think is a little ridiculous because they're not exposed to other animals on a regular. So
Hmm.
there are some that I choose not to give them. Uh, but I don't know. Maybe that's just I've looked at the recent expectations for vaccines in Nevada, and it was like triple what it was 10 years ago. So I don't know if that's better science or big pharma. And it's something that I can understand people having questions about.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
I would want to see data.
the only reason people believe vaccines are bad, or like the main reason, is because this one guy, I forget his name, but like this one guy had uh he like trumped up his study, as he called it, to get a certain result. He didn't have a legitimate study, and he actually lost his license for it. And all of these like statistics and stuff that, one of my cousins is an anti-vaxxer. He constantly messaged me about this. And I'm like, I don't even have kids, so I have no idea why. But and then he's quoting CDC, and he's like, well, polio wasn't, it was eradicated. We don't have to worry about it because it was eradicated in 1958 or something. I'm like, well, isn't that, I wonder why, maybe because we had a polio vaccine, And
Well, I
so,
think polio has just recently come back, even hasn't it? There was a confirmed case in the United States of polio,
I believe so.
like recently.
Yeah, and I don't think. I mean, it's not like we wipe out. It's not like we kill off these what
The
the
viruses.
the virus or the genes that carry this. It's what it is we l- we inoculate so many people that it pretty much doesn't affect us. It's like, the bubonic plague that wiped out a third of Europe. We don't have a cure for it. It's still out there somewhere, you know, but we
In the
don't have a vaccine against it. So, we just kind of hope it doesn't resurface, because if it does resurface again, then we're going to be fucked until we figure out a cure for it.
You've got bubonic plague within an hour's drive of where you live. Hold on.
Is that right?
It's still in the environment.
Yeah, like
It's carried by rodents. So it's still very, but what we have is with bubonic plague, we have penicillin and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta treat the symptoms. And Animist, it's the fleas, not the rodents. I'm offended. I'm a rat owner.
Yeah, but the fleas live on the rodents, like squirrels. The squirrels have bubonic plague.
Damn it, Animus! I fucking knew you were gonna bring up goddamn fucking squirrels. Just knew it.
It's like a dog. Squirrel.
No matter what, anytime Animist and I get into a conversation, fucking squirrels come up.
They're your new totem animal. You just have to accept it. They're your totem. They're going to haunt you until you go out in nature, and try not to touch them because their fleas may give you the plague.
Yes. Actually, well, I don't want to be touching squirrels anyhow.
Yeah, don't be touching squirrels. They don't like it either. They're not.
You don't know where they've been.
Yeah. So viruses you can't exterminate with vaccines. All you can do is have a herd immunity that keeps them from creating outbreaks.
Exactly.
Bacteria and parasites you can exterminate, like smallpox. Smallpox, as far as we know, is exterminated. As far as we know.
Well, no, there's labs that have got samples of them, like the CDC. I think, what is it, that island in New York where oh God, what is it?
Yeah, but they're not loose.
Lyme disease is kept. Yeah, I don't think that there's any wild smallpox left, but I'm not really sure. At least in the U.S.
No, worldwide, smallpox. They quit vaccinating for smallpox because it was considered exterminated. Actually, some years ago. So that's the one life form that we have absolutely, definitely made go extinct, except for the 2 vials in America and the 2 in Russia. They got some in Russia too, in some very deep vaults. But viruses will continue to lurk, so they're always going to be down there around somewhere.
Well, isn't it because they're always mutating at an accelerated rate or something like that? They're hard to exterminate because they're constantly changing.
Well, it's more like they can continue to exist in your cells even if you don't have symptoms, and they can be passed around and not create symptoms. Viruses change how actively they infect or multiply. And so you can have a whole population that carries a virus and nobody has any symptoms from it because the virus is staying very low key. And that's where the vaccination for virus diseases comes into play, because as long as the population has a high antibody response to the virus will stay in what's called the lysergic stage, where it just reproduces just enough not to die out. And so it can continue to be passed in very small amounts that won't create a disease. So it just kind of lurks there. But then if the herd immunity goes away and you no longer have the antibodies created by the vaccines, then the virus basically intelligently decides that this is a good time to grow. And then you have these outbreaks. And that's what happens. That's why you have measles outbreaks, because the measles is going, hey, there's a whole bunch of people around here who don't have any antibodies. Let's multiply. Viruses are smart.
How's it going, David?
Going well. A lot has happened in life. Good to hear that you're doing Hangouts more often.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into doing it. I know wasn't doing Hangouts for a while, and so yeah.
We missed you. We missed you so much.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, with this new job, I just been busy, and then yeah. So I mean, I just got to sit down and just start having these Hangouts again more. It's actually kind of nice to have them right after the premieres, because it's like then it's kind of like it's just easier than rather just like scheduling one at some random time, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see personally, as a loyal viewer, I would like to see some more of those.
That doesn't hold any weight with me on this case.
I've been stalking you for 5 years. Damn it, accept it.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That actually does hold some weight. Yeah.
I would like to see some more of your debunking videos. I personally really enjoy those types of videos. I know you've become kind of frustrated with, because it kind of always comes down to the same argument. It's like, well, my God is real and yours is a demon. But
Mhm.
that's just something I personally enjoy.
I
Which,
second that.
what do you, but you mean my regular, like the videos that I upload debunks?
Yeah, or live hangouts where like we're all here and we're all watching a video or something like that and
Yeah.
debunking it together. Those are things that I personally enjoy.
Yeah. I agree with you. I like to do those too. Sometimes, like usually it's like Now You See TV that I will do that with. And sometimes I have to like figure out, because like I'll read their headline and I kind of like figure out like, oh, okay, are they talking about this? You know, and I mean I kind of have to figure out like, okay, where are they going to take this to? Because often, like, because I know their show is like 2 hours long, right? And then if I do a live debunking, it tends to be like 3 hours. You know, I mean, it can be like if I did the whole thing, and sometimes it's like they'll spend like the first hour like, you know, barely touching on a topic or talking about something that's completely uninteresting. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I think you have to find the right video to do.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find some like 10-minute videos so we can spend an hour on just one video.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, like okay, yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll see if I can do that again.
Yeah, I think there was like, I forget what it was called, but I found a video on how like tattoos are, opening gateways to Satan on yourself and like inviting him into your home and stuff like. I would have to find it and send it to you, but it's hilarious.
Did you say cat videos are inviting Satan into your life?
Tattoo videos.
Oh, tattoo. I was like, cat videos. Cats are Satan, obviously.
Obviously, yep. Well, you've seen the picture of the cat licking themselves into the form of a pentagram, right?
Oh my God, yeah, with his
Yeah.
little paws up. My dog sits like that. She's got her butt down. She puts both her feet up. It's adorable.
Yeah, so cats are definitely demonic.
Oh, of course. They want you dead.
And tattoos are actually, I think everything is demonic. I don't think there's anything that is not demonic. So,
I mean, anything that's
The Bible is
fine
demonic?
demonic.
well, there's only certain Christians who are actual Christians, so the rest
That's
of them are
true.
demonic, yes.
Yeah, that's true. There are only a few of them that actually keep the laws.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like my father's favorite favorite argument for like cherry picking what he wants and how he expects everybody else to ask, and then he calls people out on their supposedly non-Christian behavior, and I'm like, no, and nobody likes you. Why?
Yeah, it's like they don't understand why people are so pissed off with them. All they're trying to do is to tell you what you're doing wrong and you can change your life so you don't go to hell. I
It's
don't
a
understand what's so difficult about that.
It's a life preserver, why would you just, refuse such a free, wonderful gift and just bathe in Jesus's whatever bodily fluids come to mind, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Exactly. They're just trying to save you from an eternal suffering.
There are some people that actually they have approached me in that manner of a respectful, hey, I love you, I don't want to see you rot in hell. But for the most part, it's never that argument. It's always, yeah, well, you're going to hell. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have to look at you, so it works out.
Yeah, but even that's offensive. Like if I went up to a Christian and said, you're going to have to convert to paganism because you're going to burn in hell for eternity. I mean, even that's fucked up. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's like, no, Christians, just understand that your religion has equal weight to every single other religion in the entire world. That's it. That's all you have to understand. Like if I came onto YouTube and started telling Animist how everything that he believes is absolutely wrong and how he's going to burn in hell, how the hell can I do that when I don't understand his beliefs? I don't understand everything about it. All I'm doing is I'm projecting onto him and using my religion or my personal beliefs as a way to basically just say that he's doing whatever he's practicing wrong. I mean, it's
I didn't say it
unfounded and
was
it's not
respectful.
fair. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I didn't say it was respectful. I understand when people are coming from a place of love versus, yeah, well, you're going to hell.
Mm.
You know, I can understand. Like my grandmother. Okay, she's a Christian. She's was very adamant about knowing Jesus and understanding religion yourself before committing to anything, which is something I respect.
Mhm.
Um, but she very much believes I'm going to hell if I were to tell her I'm a witch. So it's easier sometimes to just put shit away.
Mhm.
But I understand when they're coming from a place of love, I guess, versus coming from a place of arrogance.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know how you feel, comedic. Like I had a designated drawer for a while for all of my stuff, and then I had too much stuff to put away, and my shelves would be empty and stuff, and I was just like, this is way too much effort. You know what? You guys, I'm a witch. Bye. So yeah, it's always difficult, especially if they're like, trying to do it because they love you, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I can't, let's not discuss this. It's kind of my decision, just as this is your decision. And I understand that this is a huge, this is a life or death situation for you, but it really isn't for me, and where I want to go with my life is my decision. And I decide whether it's life or death, and it's just kind of having to like set boundaries. But yeah, some people are just lost causes and you just have to be like, yeah, I'm still a Christian. So totally. Yeah. Going to church.
Go God.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the Christian God hasn't even been in my family that long. My great grandmother, my grandmother's mother, was half Native and half Irish. So, and she was definitely not a Christian. My grandmother told me when she was 14, it was through her own efforts that she went forth and found a church and became a Christian. And she raised her children Christian, but none of her children are like real Christians. They go to church on Christmas and Easter kind of Christians,
Mhm.
They're most of my family is agnostic. My uncles and my aunts, I would say, and it's more of a loose Christian base. So I don't know. It hasn't been in my blood long enough for me to really accept it as the family religion, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I grew up, but I mean, in my family, it wasn't a big deal. Like, we didn't have a religion per se. I'm sure my brothers and sisters in my family, they have their individual beliefs that maybe we just never really talked about. But for the most part, it seemed like we were all pretty much allowed just to sort of find our own path and do what we want to do. So that was one lucky thing that I didn't have to deal with, was not being accepted by my parents for my beliefs. And I know other people have. They've really struggled with that, and even still
Yeah.
struggle with it sometimes.
I mean, yeah, it is a little traumatizing, to be honest.
Mm.
Well, recently, I've been looking into Mormonism and stuff like that, and some of the things that church members do to like their gay children is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
You got conversion therapy, you got them just outright disowning them and dumping them in the streets at like 15. So it's kind of horrible what religion can do to your children.
I
Yeah.
don't understand why religion has to. They really attack the core elements of what it means to be alive. Like, they govern, or they will tell you what you can and cannot eat, and who you cannot sleep with. It's like,
Or what you put in your butt,
or what?
or what you put in your butt. It seems like God is very, very concerned on what you're putting in your butt.
Well,
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
but I
hey,
mean that
I'm
could
making
fall
it.
under the category of what you do sexually, because I don't think people are putting stuff up their butt just to put it there. You know, like, oh, let's see, where am I going to put this? Where am I going to put my car keys? Oh, I know, I'll put them up my butt. No, usually they do it as, you know, something else, like maybe a part of sex act or something, you know. But
Well, I was generalizing, but yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I see what you're saying. Like, so it is pretty, that's like, I would say about 50 to like 60% of like people who are LGBT had very religious parents and always have a traumatic story where they like have to come out to their parents, you know, and I've never come out to my parents, or like they told me they didn't want to know. And so I never told them growing up that I was bi. And so it was always like super confusing. And then when I got older, I was like, you know what, this religion thing's not really working out for me. It's really depressing. So, you know, it's just, yeah, it's always like a problem. And it's just not necessary. It really isn't.
yeah,
Maybe that's proof that God's a space alien since he's so worried about anal probing.
yeah, yep, yeah, you got a good point there.
All worried about mutilating the animals too, you know, with all the animal sacrifices, there's more cattle mutilation.
Could be. Yeah, but it's like why do they have to control certain aspects of our lives? That just never made any sense to me.
I could tell you, but it would take too long.
Okay.
I think it just makes them
Oh,
feel
we'll finish
better.
that.
Okay. What? Huh? Who's what? Huh? Who said that?
Amber.
Oh
Amber,
yeah,
what were you saying?
sorry. I think it just makes them feel better, actually. You know, it makes them feel like better Christians for spreading the entire gospel of Christ. So, like, I think that's what it is. And it makes them feel fulfilled in what they're doing, especially if they're not like an active member. I don't know. This is like speaking from like my own personal religious experience, but like, yeah, I think that's like part of it. It's kind of an ego thing. It's just like, oh, I'm the perfect Christian. Here's where you're wrong, kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does come down to that because I even see that within like their own community. Like I'll be watching chat room and like let's say for example like Through the Black or Now You See TV, and it's like they even claim to be like more Christian than other Christians, and then they talk about like Christians who are asleep at the wheel or not real Christians or what's the term they use? There's some derogatory term they use for Christian, like not Christians who are not awake or whatever. So yeah, huh? What would you say?
Backslid. They call
Yeah,
it
exactly.
backslid.
Yeah. Backsliding, exactly. And so it's like, yeah, they have this ego thing where they think even other Christians aren't real Christians.
That brings up the thought of
I found like a lot of videos about that. Just Christians being cannibals and just tearing each other apart.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
What
want to
were you saying,
react to one
David?
of those? Because
it brings up the thought of if you're in a community where you yourself and your church believes that everybody else is wrong, but you're right, and you know that everybody else has that mindset, wouldn't that bring up the question, maybe you may be wrong in some way? Why not do more research? Why not be more open? Why not look through other people's eyes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think they're super known for doing their research or thinking logically, just as a whole. I mean, the Bible's pretty full of it,
Yeah, but what makes a person think they themselves are right while everybody else is wrong?
Yeah.
They're all reading from the same book.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That it comes down to the core of that because you could have two people reading the same thing and both of them could have a different interpretation. And so who's going to believe who? And it's kind of like, well, they and yeah, exactly. It's a good question. I just think I think it's incredibly funny because it's like they're claiming to understand something that they've never experienced or spoken to. So it's like, and then they can just say whatever and nobody's going to challenge them except other Christians, So they can say whatever they can say, oh, well, God spoke to me and said this, you know. It's that's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, we call that schizophrenia.
Yeah, but I don't even think, like, I've heard that from one particular person, and I don't think he was schizophrenic. He
Well,
was
no.
he was being genuinely sincere. He was saying that God spoke to him and said that he needs to do this ministry, and it's like nobody questions it. Like, you know.
No, because it's no different from pagans, really. You know, you talk to yourself long enough, something's going to start answering back. Even Scientologists have described this in their own little Xenu sessions with the e-meter and shit. So I think it's more of a human thing. That's why, you know, like you, all of these thoughts came from within myself. They're just misattributing it to a being outside themselves because they don't understand. And you know that you see a lot of this with like aliens in ancient Egypt and shit. Just because you're too stupid to understand the material doesn't mean aliens did it. That's a lot of my arguments. Like, hey, geography or geology, just because you don't get it doesn't mean nobody else did. Geometry. What the fuck?
What are you talking? Are you talking geometry or geology?
Geometry. You know, it's like the shape of the pyramids and stuff. It's like, oh, if it was even an inch off, the pyramids would not have worked. And it's like, yeah, but you're thinking that the pyramid itself was like the first step. You know, you have the bent pyramid, you have the step pyramid. There was a process to figuring out how this is going to work. So I think a lot of it is just a lack of understanding on their own part. So they don't understand, therefore something outside themselves must have done it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I think I just got in a weird tangent.
No, but I think I understand what you're talking about, because yeah, it's like what they'll do is they'll look at something incredible like the pyramids, and people just can't comprehend that primitive man created it. They just don't understand that, because they think that, you know, they assume that all, you know, and I'm talking about like you know, people way back then were just all stupid, and no, they weren't stupid. There was a lot of uneducated people, because, you know, schools were not very common. It was very rare to get an education, but for the most part, they were very creative and very skilled and were able to do a lot of things. And I'm sure that the person who was like engineering the whole project behind the pyramids, I don't think they just like decided to just like slap some stones and, you know, get a bunch of people to work and do this. No, they planned it out. You know, I'm sure they probably built scale models and did all kinds of stuff, you know, and were very methodical about it, but they used tools that were primitive to them. But
and yeah, and they failed in their attempts. That was what I was trying to get at. You know, you have the bent pyramid of Saqqara, which Imhotep, the designer of the Great Pyramid, is the one who came up with all the pyramid designs. He built the step pyramid, and the bent pyramid was his attempt at the true pyramid that we see in Giza. So it was a process. You know, it's not like it was just this grand scheme. You can see that the Egyptians showed their work.
mm-hmm.
I wonder
I just think that
how,
people just don't understand.
well, I was like wondering how far he got into like the bent pyramid before he figured out, oh, okay, so this isn't gonna work, but he like didn't want to stop. So
Halfway. And because you can see that the halfway mark is where he changed his design and the bend occurs. I think there was even a papyrus or something like that found with some kind of notes of his or something like that, or maybe it was at the Sphinx. I don't remember. I'd have to find my notes on it. Complicated.
I know, like by the New Kingdom, they had to stop the pyramids because they were like too hard to build. Take like 3
Yeah, they were hard.
decades.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they were like carved into the mountains instead.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
those
That was more to do with hiding the valuables, because the Egyptians, you needed your stuff in the afterlife to have standing. So the pyramid is a giant beacon of here's all the gold, come get it. So they switched to carving into the mountains to hide the pharaoh's bodies and the royal bodies, to ensure that they would be able to come back, because the Egyptians believed you would possess your own body after you crossed over through these rituals. Your son coming in to honor you and feed you was literally him feeding you. So they were trying to prevent damage to the mummies as well as grave goods being taken. That's why they switched to mountains and things like that.
They're just like, propelling they're just propelling hoarding at that point. I'm just like, yes, I need all of my stuff. No, you can't have it. Just all mine.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there were other cultures that believed that, you took things into the afterlife. There's a lot of especially a lot of Celtic burials have, like they'll have the horses in there, the chariots, all their equipment, even like their huge cauldron and all their cups and everything. So it's like they were like buried like with all their items, assuming that they take them into the afterlife.
So
Very
like you went on vacation and sometimes you took all of your whole house with you, and you took your family sometimes too.
Mhm.
Yeah, for a lot of cultures, the afterlife was just the next life. Just because you shed this world doesn't mean something doesn't exist upon in the next world. Because at least for me, it's my understanding of dreams. Because we all have this ability to create worlds in our own minds when we sleep. So maybe that had something to do with it. People just dreaming and the soul carrying on to the next life. I don't know. That's my interpretation anyway.
I mean, that makes
What do you mean by that, Zabora? Like people, the concept of an afterlife came through
Yeah.
dreams? Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
was
like somebody goes to sleep and they dream like they're in another world. And so the concept of after you die, you sort of like quote unquote go into a dreamland.
yeah,
Okay.
or seeing your dead relatives or something like that would be them trying to contact you from the other side, indicating another side.
Hmm. Yeah,
My
could be.
opinion. My opinion.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely there's always this concept of something else, like another phase you move into or something. So yeah, I
If
mean it's interesting. What were you saying?
if that's correct, my afterlife is gonna be fucking weird. I think
Well, no, no, no.
everybody.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Zabora, but it wasn't that she was saying that when you die you go into a dream world. What it was the idea of when you go to sleep, you go into some other world. So the idea that if when you die, your soul goes into another world.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Excuse me and my afterworked, overworked ass. So
Well, yeah, because like if you look at a sleeping person, if they're breathing very gently, you can't always tell that they're alive. So I guess like I would think that the concept evolved from death and sleeping to be linked to the next world. Not that I believe in a next world.
yeah. I mean that does make sense on like that level too.
Well, maybe there
I
is
just I
another
never
world.
really was real comfortable with the idea of reincarnation itself, just because there's so many more people today than there was, say, 100 years ago, and 1,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago. So, are these new spirits that are supposedly moving on? Are they being generated? Have they always been there? Is there a set number? And I personally just don't want to think about Hitler coming back.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe in the afterlife and you go and get your previous lives read, you can't just get it read by any person that claims to be psychic. I mean, you have to go and find somebody who's like connected with your soul in some way. That's extremely hard. I haven't done it. Like, personally, I believe in reincarnation, but like, it's like I can't go just to anybody and figure out what the hell happens, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, in defense of Hitler,
He
let me
loved
let me, let me
babies.
get my channel completely torn off YouTube. No, but I mean, people always say like, "Oh, well, if we could somehow prevent Hitler from living," it's like, yeah, Hitler was an awful person, but what happened from that point, that concept of allowing some kind of a fascist government to come into power and into control that commits genocide, that's something that has happened. And it'll happen again if we allow it to happen. So while we're busy focusing on Hitler, we, we're going to miss the Pol Pots and the Mussolinis that pop up. And yes, Hitler was an awful person, but how he got into power and how Mussolini got into power and how Pol Pot got into power and what they did with that power is what we actually want to prevent from happening again. If Hitler comes back and he's Hitler, but he works in, a patent office or something and doesn't do anything and never rises to political power, I don't care. But it's the idea that somebody can rise to political power, believe that they are improving society by imposing genocide and a completely fascist dictatorship is what we have to be concerned about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, sweetie. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, if we're going to bring back anybody at all, I think we should bring back like the people that actually made the world a better place. Yes, Hitler happened and that was awful. But you know what? I'd rather bring back Steve Irwin,
Who?
or the holy trinity of good people, like Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers and, well,
Hell
Steve,
yeah.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
Who is the first person you said?
Steve Irwin.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Oh,
The crocodile
the
hunter?
crocodile hunter.
Oh, he was the crocodile hunter. Oh, okay. I didn't. Okay. All
Good
right.
man.
He
Good
doesn't
man.
know who Steve Irwin is.
I'm like, why would you want to bring him back? But okay.
I lost a little faith in you. I'm sorry. Just a little bit then. You should,
That's
I'll
okay.
be right
That's
back.
okay.
I'll be right back.
I can live with that.
Because apparently there's still wildlife out there that hasn't been pestered yet.
I mean, he
Oh my
respected
God.
animals, and hunting, regardless what, is a part of the natural way of life, circle of life.
Well, yeah, but like Steve Irwin and his wife Terry, they did so much to conserve species that were in danger and to like bring to light how to treat animals and the things that were going on. They helped more animals and more people than PETA or anybody else has ever done. So like it was very important that what they did in the Australia Zoo and what it stands for. It's extremely important to everybody's knowledge of wildlife and how everything works.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember seeing on like Twitter people talking about they were posting things about him passing. So yeah, that's a shame. Let me see. So it's already 4 o'clock. I started this at 2, so I think I'm gonna start wrapping this up. So the next 15 minutes we'll wrap it up.
All right.
Well, that works for me. I'm gonna go do another hangout hopefully here in a little bit. Azrael hasn't contacted me yet, but we are actually going to be speaking about spirits and the afterlife more over there.
Oh, cool. Where's that going to be at?
Azrael, Angel of Melancholy. Let me go ahead and grab his channel, and I'll leave it.
Yeah,
see if I can move it.
and you're a moderator, so you should be able to post it into the chat. So if you want to post it into the chat, so people can go and check it out. That sounds interesting. I'll while I'm eating my chili, I will have to check that out.
Same here.
Okay, let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I'd love to check it out too. I do have D&D later, and I gotta get off here right now because my
Oh,
husband has arrived to pick me up from work. So
Okay.
thank you, everyone, and it was fantastic chatting with you all.
All right,
likewise.
Amber. Anytime.
All right, bye.
Night. Have fun. Have fun playing D&D.
Same. I actually have to run a D&D session in about 2 hours, so I got time.
Oh.
So
I mean,
before your 15 minutes are up, is there anything you would like to discuss, like a last minute subject?
I'm open.
Hmm.
You got it? You got anything?
I noticed that the concept of whether or not Jesus was born was in the chat. I want to touch upon that.
Okay.
In my experience, I've come to the conclusion that Jesus, whether or not he was real or not, I honestly think doesn't really matter. It's the effect of what he as a character has placed upon the world that's important.
I would disagree on that. Just because, like, historically speaking, the Bible is mentioning several contradictory origins of Jesus. You know, he's born in one city, but then in another time he's born in another, and he gets an angel talking to him at 12 in one story, and then in another story it's not until he's a grown man. So it's historical Jesus, if he existed, would have been multiple Jesuses. And that kind of makes a little bit more. I think Yeshua, isn't that like a title or something like that, and not an actual name or something? I don't remember. I was been watching a lot of R and Raw lately, and I think I gotta stop. But I think that historical Jesus is an asshole. If you actually read the Bible, he says, "I did not come to bring peace on earth. I am not a shield. I am a sword. I did not come to bring families together. I came to destroy them. Any man who does not love any man who loves his children more than me, or his wife more than me, he's come to set a man against his wife and a woman against her mother." So historical Jesus is not a good man, in my opinion.
Agreed. But
Biblical Jesus.
but I think whether or not he was real or not, it still had an effect on the world, a big effect.
I think,
But
yeah,
go ahead.
David. I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to put a slightly different spin on it. I think the concept, what people have projected onto this concept of that particular person, has had a great effect upon the world. As for the actual historical figure, I do not believe existed. I believe that he was probably somebody who turned into a hero, and then from that turned into everything else. It's just like every other hero in mythology. It's like believing that Hercules was an actual living person. May have been somebody who the concept of Hercules was built upon, and then over years, people tell the story of it, and it changes, and it goes to different lands, and the story changes again, and other things get added to it. So that's what I believe. Like, if we're talking about the Christian Jesus, that's what I think that figure is. I think the concept of it has lived. The actual historical figure is just fantasy. It's just fiction.
Mhm.
But that's, and what do I base this on? I base this on the fact that there's never been any historical proof to prove that there was a figure of Jesus that existed. So,
I mean, I
Oh, I'm
believe that
sorry to
he.
interrupt, guys. The chat, I thought it was going to be live. It's actually not live. He's going to Azrael's going to edit it and do that kind of thing first.
so it's not going to be okay.
Yeah, but I totally left a link to his video down below, or to his channel down below in the YouTube chat. So if you guys want to go and subscribe, that video will be coming out hopefully this week.
All right.
That's a shame, because I think a topic like that would be great live. But oh well.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. But he's got some new software he's trying out, and I don't think he's figured out how to do Google Hangouts and YouTube Live yet. So
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm not sure. We're working on it.
All right. Well, that's cool. Well, anyhow, it should be fun. So, all right. So let's go down the line, and maybe we can finish up our closing remarks, and then if you have a channel, you can promote that, or if there's anything going on you want to promote, and then we'll spend the next 5 minutes wrapping this up. So, do you want to start out, Animist?
I'm just hanging in there. I'm still out in the middle of the countryside in South Carolina for the winter, and not sure where it's going from here or when. So it's just riding the wild wave, I guess, waiting for the next thing.
Gotcha. Living the dream, living life, basically. And what about you, Zabora?
Yeah, I'm comedic witchcraft. I've got a channel if you guys want to come and check it out. I basically focus on the Egyptian religion, and I call myself a witch because I do practice energy manipulation, and I am an English speaking American, so witch is the word we use for that. So if you want to check me out, come and check me out. I do practice hoodoo and comedic reconstructionism.
Cool. And what about you? I am Trash.
So I'll get some food soon. I don't
Huh?
have a channel or anything like that, so nothing to promote. Yeah, I'm chilling.
All right. And what about you, David?
Well, I don't really have a channel, but I probably might make a channel in the future, or etc. etc. I am an occultic witch. My beliefs are still developing, but what I strongly believe and look towards is the power of storytelling. That whether fictional or real, whatever story that may be, or the power of morality tends to come through that. Stories can have an effect on people in a strong sense, which is why I'm trying to dabble in that area. So, but let's see if I could develop a channel that talks more on that. And and Zabora, nice to see you again. Do I call you Zabora or Comedic?
Yeah, no, Zabora's fine. It was nice seeing you too, David. I don't. It's been a while, and I think this is actually Animus and my first official hangout together. So it was lovely doing it with you, Animus.
Really?
Oh,
You and
thank
Animus haven't been in the same hangout before?
That's
I don't
weird.
think
I
so.
didn't know that.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always happy to see new faces, but I also enjoy seeing people like Animus and David and come back because I know Animus was moving, and I know David was moving. So it's always nice. It's always nice to hang out with people who have been following my channel for a while, and it's just fun. I know Animus. Whenever he and I get together, that's squirrels are going to come up. But anyhow, all right. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I really appreciate this. And if you saw my video earlier today, I hope you enjoyed it. And I guess that's about it. So thank you all, and have a good night.
Have a good night.
Synapti.